Hi. So recently I changed my main observing rig from a Celestron C11 to an Askar 140 and did the usual due diligence of going onto YouTube and watching lots of videos on the Askar range, and the reception and reviews are generally very positive. And I have to say it has been a really good scope. I'm very impressed. The Chinese have clearly moved on from the days of taking Western goods, copying them, producing something that wasn't quite as good but cheaper, and they're now really innovating, and I've got to say it, they're producing kit which is in many cases superior to the Western goods and still cheaper. So I have to say I've been very impressed with it. But one of the things I did notice on some of the videos I watched was that there wasn't an awful lot of videos that showed it in full setup mode. So I'm just going to do a very quick overview of my setup, just to show you what the Askar looks like when it's actually in an observing run setup. Okay, let me just swap you around and I'll just take you out to a wider field view. So this is my setup. As you can see, I've got an EQ6 mount. It's an old mount. I bought this when they first came out, so it must be getting on for 10 years old. But it still produces sub-second tracking in PHD2, so I felt absolutely no need to replace it. So let me just take you through the Askar, and then we'll just mention a little bit about the mount as well. So as you can see, Askar 140, dew shield is extendable, it's all the way out at the moment. And the other important thing to note is that in observing mode, certainly for CCD observing, as you can see on, which is what I've got set up here, this tube has to be fully extended. This is the locking collar. You just unwind that and the tube can move in and out. I think you push it all the way in if you've got a bino viewer on there, but certainly what I do. So this is essentially my permanent setup. One of the considerations I was a little bit dubious about, first of all, is the fact you unlock this and the whole thing moves out. What's the engineering tolerances like on this? Is there going to be any slop or any play? But there isn't at all. It's really solid. And the images that I've been getting, the stars are, they're tight and round corner to corner. So I've been very impressed. The engineering tolerances on this and the overall look and finish of the scope really is very good. So this is my setup that I have here. As you can see, EAF, the autofocus through Nina works an absolute treat in this. The EAF fits onto here, and without any adjustments you can use the brackets that come with the EAF, goes on no problem whatsoever, and so it works perfectly with Nina full autofocus, which is very nice to have. My main scope is an ATIC 383, which I've had for years. Does me very nicely, thanks. It's an 8 megapixel sensor, quite big pixels, but works an absolute treat. 1x1 binning. And you can see here I have the field flattener on. And as I say, that does give tight round images corner to corner with this setup. Now the back focus here is 55mm, which means from the CCD, which is around about here, up to the back of the field focus has to be 55mm. That means you can get a filter wheel in. As you can see, I've got a ZWO USB control filter wheel. It would be extremely tight to get an off-axis guider in there. You'd have to have a very thin off-axis guider to fit in there, if you could do it at all. I don't do that anymore. I used to have an off-axis guider when I was imaging with my Celestron C11, but I've now moved to a separate scope, which is also an Askar 52mm, and that works perfect through PHD. And there you can see I've got an ASI 120, so one of the cheapest cameras you can get, and that works perfectly. Field of view is about a degree, I think. Yeah, it's about a field of view of about a degree, and you always get stars. I never ever have to move this. Whatever object I'm imaging, always pick up loads of stars through PHD, this combination, and it works really well. So yeah, it's quite a classic setup. Imaging, USB filter wheel, EAF focus, and separate guide scope. The only other thing I will mention while I'm here, as you can see, my EQ6, the standard mount it comes with, and the altitude and azimuth of adjustment, notoriously crap. And so what I've done, I've bought a second-hand Astro engineering wedge and I've mounted it on there. Just had to make a couple of aluminium blocks to mount it on, and that works an absolute treat. So, you know, this is obviously a permanent setup here I've got in my observatory, but it means that the adjustment for using this wedge is a million times better than what you would get. And I'd recommend anyone, you can get second-hand ones of these really cheap, you can get second-hand ones of these really cheap, you can end up with a really solid approach. You can see I have done the drive updates to a belt drive, and when I did this, as you can see, I cut these quadrants out of the casing. Obviously you have to be extremely careful when you do this not to leave any swarf in the casing at all. So obviously you have to take the whole thing apart, strip it all down, because obviously belt drives and gears and swarf do not match. They are not happy together. But this is a great idea. It's just a bit of perspex over the front, because when you put it all together you can see exactly that the belts are engaging properly, and it works absolute treat. So that's it. So that is what an EQ6 and an Askar 140 looks like when it's set up for a typical imaging run. Okay, hope that's helpful. All the best.